So definitely having successes builds confidence, but you
Hmm.
can also gain confidence from failure
Yeah.
and gain knowledge. You can gain knowledge from failure because you know what to avoid next time. I think Gary
Mm,
Vaynerchuk puts it best. He says, I would rather win 7 out of 10 times versus 10 out of 10 times because I learned so much from the 3 failures that is going to make the other 7 successes
mm,
that much better because of the stuff I learned in the failures. And that's true when you have a failure.
yeah.
Having the business things happen because of 9/11, there's outside forces that can cause your business to have issues. And there's nothing you
Yeah.
can do about it because it's outside forces. So what you can do is you can suck it up and do
Yeah.
what you need to do to keep you, I had to go drive truck for 4 years to keep me from going into a bad situation. And so here's another thing that we hadn't talked about yet. But so I was over in Japan, I was doing the bungee jump thing, and I would go to the gym because I had nothing else to do when I wasn't at work. I would go to the gym. First couple of weeks I was there, nobody was talking to me because I'm the big gaijin in the gym, and I'm 6'4", 220 pounds, bigger. I mean, that's nothing in America, but in Japan, you go into,
Yeah.
you're big, and they're afraid of you. They don't know if you speak Japanese, so nobody talked to me. And then finally, this one guy, he comes up to me and he goes, "Hello," and I said, "Hello," with the perfect English accent, and he's like, and then I started speaking Japanese to him. He's like,
Oh, so
"I'm
you're
glad
like,
you speak
Nihongo
Japanese."
Kodasai.
He's like, "I'm glad you speak Japanese because I was done at Hero." He was a big rig driver in Japan, and talk about amazing big rig drivers. Japanese big rig drivers, they can back into anything.
Yeah.
He was amazing. But he said, okay, I want to quit driving big rig and I want to start importing camping trailers from America and Ford and Dodge diesel pickups. Will you help me? I didn't know how to do it. I thought he did, so I said yes. He didn't know how to do it, so we helped each other figure out how to do it. We've been doing that since 1997. We still do it to this day. But whenever I made the decision to buy that truck and go get in the middle of that recreational vehicle industry in Indiana, it not only saved me from my bankruptcy issue, it put me into making connections in the RV industry so that when I needed something for Japan, I knew people and I could call and get with different companies. I had connections. And so it was a two-phase plan. Number one, keep me solvent, and number two, make connections for my current other side business.
Wow. Today on Unfiltered Conversations, I'm thrilled to have Bart here, the Side Hustle Samurai. What the? Bart is an international entrepreneur and the author of Monetize Your Mindset. He literally grew up on a pig farm. Yes, a pig farm in a town of 200 people. Created his first DJ business at the age of 15 and later helped launch Japan's first commercial bungee jumping. He even tested it himself, which is kind of crazy. You know, with decades of self-employment, he now teaches ordinary people how to turn any skill, and I mean any, or experience into income. Bart, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me today.
Mm. Do you speak Japanese?
I do.
So Skoshi, or Daibu?
Daibu.
I lived in Okinawa for 7 years, so I spoke enough to be conversationalist, and then it's been 10 years since I actually spoken with someone, so I've lost so much. So
Yeah,
yeah, so
so I spent 2 years over there in Hokkaido, and then
mm,
after that, when I took the bungee jump to Japan, I spent 6 years living probably half my time over there, just going back and
Wow.
forth and back and forth.
And see, that's amazing. I love that. I love that. If you guys have never been to Japan, Japan is a wonderful country, very welcoming. Of course, if you try to learn the language and show your part as well, they're very hospitable. So, Bart, I am so fascinated, to learn. One, how did you start a mobile DJ company at the age of 15 in your hometown in New Mexico? Tell us about that experience.
So I got my first stereo at age 11. I love music. I love listening to music.
Mhm.
And so I bought this stereo, cost me $285. It was an all-in-one Sanyo system where back in the day where you had a cassette deck on this side, tuner in the middle, an 8-track over on this side, and then a turntable on the top.
Oh, so you
And
was doing it.
little did I know, I just bought me a liability because every time I went to town, I had to buy the new tunes. And back then, you had to buy the crap with the 2 songs you wanted.
Yeah.
And so it was quite expensive for an 11-year-old kid. When I turned
Yeah.
15 and got my driver's license, I decided to turn that into a mobile disco business. And in
Yo.
my small town in southern New Mexico, nobody was hiring 15-year-old DJs. So I rented the community center, hired an off-duty cop for security. Mom and dad took money at the door. I spun records. Everybody had a great time dancing after the football game or the basketball games. And so my town wasn't 200 people. My high school, 7th grade through 12th grade was 200 people. But that's still
Oh,
a
okay,
small
okay.
town. And
Yeah.
that was a radius of about 90 miles. We would have people travel 90 miles to get to school every day.
Wow.
And so it was
That's
a
the
small town.
yeah. But you was probably the talk of the town.
I mean, it was something that nobody else was doing, and it made me five, six, $700 a night doing something that I loved. I mean, I loved playing music. I was playing it at my house. I was buying the tunes anyway. Now
Yeah.
I turned that liability into an asset, and it
Wow.
paid me clear through college.
Jeez. So what did you learn from that experience of being a teenager, a teenage businessman?
So I really got it from my dad. My dad was a pig farmer, but he wasn't just a pig farmer. He had his hands in many different operations in the
Mhm.
agricultural industry because that's what he loved.
I
So he was
love it.
part owner in a dairy farm, part owner in a mushroom farm, part owner in a produce warehouse, just so many things that he had his hands in. And then whenever I tried to do things, he was always there to help and encourage me along the way. And so just watching him, he never set me down and taught me the birds and the bees of business. I learned it by example, by watching him. And anytime I did anything, he encouraged me. I mean, not just business. FFA, I don't know if you know what FFA is, but it's Future Farmers of America. It's group in the
Mhm.
school. They would do fundraisers, and I would participate in these fundraisers. One was selling boxes of oranges, and I had a goal to, if you sold $500 worth, you would get a pair of Justin Ropers, which was the cowboy boot of that time. It was the
Mhm.
popular one everybody wanted, and my goal was to get a pair of Ropers. Well,
Okay.
okay, we're in a small town. You have 10, 20 kids all trying to sell to the same people. And so my dad says, if you want those boots, you need to get on the phone right now and start making sales. We'll go
Mm.
around later and collect the money, but you need to get on the phone and work the phone. And he just encouraged me so that I would be successful. And I not only got one pair of Justin Ropers, I sold $1,100 worth, got 2 pairs of Justin Ropers, one for my girlfriend. By the
Hey.
time the boots came in, she was no longer my girlfriend, but I still
Oh.
gave them to her. She didn't want them. She gave them to her sister-in-law. So I gave boots to a married woman. I worked hard to get boots, and they ended up going to a married woman.
Yeah. That's crazy.
But that's what
You
my
know,
dad instilled in me. You have a goal. You're
yeah.
still you're still on the giving my boots away.
Yeah. Sorry.
No worries. But it that is the stuff that my dad taught me as a kid. If you have a goal,
Mhm.
you need to do what it takes to get there. And whether it's business or sales or whatever you're doing, you need to make your plan and then act on it and get there. And
Yeah.
that's what I
And
learned as a young kid.
that's one man, that's pretty amazing. It's like, it's that old adage that I was always told, like, turn your lemons to lemonade. You know, can you share a time like when you handled, I guess, or you had another situation where it was a liability and you turned it to an asset for yourself?
Well, just in 2024,
Mm-hmm.
March 25th, 2024, which was actually my dad's birthday,
Mm,
I
yeah.
had to have my lower left leg amputated. And so and I found out this was going to happen in about October of 2023. And when I found
Mm,
out this was going to happen, I said, okay, I don't like this, but it's going to happen. There's nothing I can do about it. But if it's going to happen, how can I monetize it?
mm,
6 months post-op, I contracted with my prosthetist, the guy that makes my leg, and I said, Scott, I interviewed 3 other prosthetists before I decided on you. One of them had a guy that I could talk to and ask questions. Because you can imagine the questions that I had. How bad is this going to
mhm,
hurt? How long till I get back on my feet? Or I guess I should say get back on my foot because one's gone. And I said, Scott, you don't have a guy. I'm your guy.
mm,
And he says, well, what do you want? And that started the negotiation. I said, Scott, I don't want a real job. I want to be on retainer. Whenever you have someone that needs to talk to someone about what's going to happen, send
mm,
them to me and I'll take care of them. And so he sends me numbers. I make the calls. I go do what I have to do to help them figure out what they need. And we've been doing that for what? Year and a half now. So let's go back to the when life hands you lemons, make lemonade. I take
yeah.
it one step further. If you're making lemonade, you might as well build a lemonade stand and sell the stuff. Because
Not wrong.
yeah, you can take a bad situation and maybe have a positive attitude. But no,
Yeah.
let's take that and make money with it.
I see how you did that there. I see
And
how you
so
did that.
my life has been a series of whatever crosses my path, good, bad, or ugly. I always ask the
Mhm,
question, how can I monetize it? I
mm.
don't monetize everything, but I always ask the question.
In my I guess research of basically you, uh, there's a little birdie that told me you had a dream of joining the FBI, right?
That was my dream job.
Yeah.
You know that I watched this movie back when I was 16 years old. It
Mhm,
was called Manhunter, and it was the prequel or the I believe Silence of the Lambs or Silence of the Lambs was a remake of this movie called Manhunter. And man, when I got done watching that movie, I was just like, oh, I want to do that. I want to chase serial killers. That's what I want to do. And we had an FBI agent that was retired. There was a family friend. He actually was the president of the bank that was in the town closest to us. And we went and sat down with him and talked to him. He says, well, right now, the easiest way in is through accounting. And once you get
mm,
in, you can apply to the different job openings that are there, and
mhm,
eventually you can make it to where you want to be if you're good enough at it. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to study accounting. My dad was on board with it. He's like, yeah, that's a good one. Well, I found out very quickly in my accounting studies that one, I wasn't very good at it, and two, I
mm,
didn't like it. But I was going to
mm.
finish it because it was a means to an end. That was
Yeah, yeah,
how I was going to get in.
yeah.
And about 6 months before I finished up school, I had 1 quarter left. I took off and I went home to work on the farm to work with my dad and improve my Spanish because FBI likes Spanish speakers. And so I wanted to get better at it. And while I was down there, a lot of friends that were customs, border patrol, cops were getting this RK surgery done on their eyes. And it's to
Mm,
correct your vision. It's before LASIK, and it was considered experimental. It just barely came out. And I was like, I mean, I'm in Podunk, New Mexico, making money with nowhere to spend it. And I
mm,
wanted to spend some money. It was $1,500 an eye. I said, I can do it. Let's go do it. I went and got it done. I was 20/20 in one eye, 20/25 in the other eye. Perfect. I mean, it was just amazing.
mhm,
But I went back up to school and I started to start the FBI application process. And I found out that surgery automatically disqualified me from the FBI because it was still considered experimental And they didn't want to put tens of thousands of dollars into an agent and then him go blind. And I didn't have to get glasses. I mean, that surgery was really good until I was about 52. And then I started to have to have glasses again. The, it blew up my my career, what I wanted to do. I am about to graduate in something that I don't like and I'm not very good at. I was devastated. I
I
was
bet.
devastated.
Gee.
What am I going to do? But I finished, I graduated. I'm doing my part-time job landscaping at this college town that I'm in for $5 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And a buddy of mine who worked for a bungee jump company who knew I spoke Japanese, he said, "Oh, we just sold a bungee tower to Japan. Do you want to go back to Japan?" And he was kind of joking, but he didn't know that I was kind of an adrenaline junkie. I'd never bungee jumped, but I was an adrenaline junkie. And so I
Yeah.
said, yes, I would. And they were kind of looking for someone who was more bungee jump, had more bungee jump knowledge and spoke Japanese,
Mm-hmm.
but they had to settle for someone who spoke Japanese. But I learned the bungee jump thing really quick.
Okay.
And I contracted with the Japanese company and they loved me because I would do anything that they asked. I wasn't afraid of work and I wasn't afraid of heights. And so a lot of them were afraid of heights. And so I would go out on the edge and do the things that need to be done. And anyway, they loved me. And so they continued to contract me for different things. We took it's called the Sky Coaster. It's a big swing thing
Mm-hmm.
in all the amusement park rides. And we took the first one of those to Japan. And then they called me. This was in 97, I believe, somewhere around that time, around Christmas time. And they said, we just saw this amazing thing on TV. It's a
Mm-hmm.
complete unattached free fall into a net from about 150 feet in the air. It's in Germany. We want you to go try it. Free fall into a net? That's gotta hurt. Yeah, I know. That's why we want you to go try it. Anyway, I called Germany. Germany says, well, it's just for stunt people right now. We'll call you when it's ready for the public. I didn't think I'd get a call back. 2 months later, I got a call back. They said, we're ready. I called Japan. Japan bought my ticket and I was on a plane to Germany to try this thing.
Yeah. That
And
is
so that's just kind of how things started
yeah.
with anything that crosses my path, good, bad, or ugly. I say, okay, how can I monetize it?
And I think, you having such, I guess, like you said earlier, a great teacher from your father who, being a pig farmer, who became a millionaire and just basically encouraged you to constantly seek out your dreams, didn't really give you a blueprint, but, and the reason, I think it was a good reason not to do that, right? So that you can be inventive, go through that struggle and grow and just made you who you are. What's one thing your dad said or did that still sticks with you right now?
So I remember as a kid, I was probably 11 or 12. He came in the house, Bart, come help me. I believe it was a Saturday. And Bart, come help me. And he drives me out to this very, very old 18-wheeler. I mean, we're talking old, like 650s, 60s era 18-wheeler, had been sitting forever. And he took me out there, left me with a lug wrench, and he wanted me to get the tires off of this trailer, and then he left. I was so mad. He said, he said, come help me. He drops me off and he leaves for me to figure this out. And I did. I figured it out. He comes back and I say, you said, come help you.
Yeah,
You were not here for me to help. You
yeah,
left me here by myself. What are you talking about? He says, well, you helped me so I could go do something else. And I remember that time because I was so mad that I was
yeah,
supposed to help him, but he wasn't there.
yeah, yeah,
And it was a great learning experience in just how to work and how to figure things out because it wasn't easy.
yeah.
These lugs have been on there forever, and he left me with the tools and have to have the patience to figure it out on my own.
Yeah, I'm laughing because it's so funny because it's indicative of what my father did with me. So my father was working on two projects, one with welding copper lines. And so he said, I'm gonna teach you how to temp weld. But also we was working on a roof. And so he had one of his friends up there tarring the roof, tearing off the shingles off the roof and then retarring everything, right? So he went up there to help him and he didn't show me how to tack weld, but he told me, hey, I want you to get this done. And so I had to figure out how to tack well. He just left me like the whole day. And then he was like, "You getting that done?" I'm like, "Yes." And I finally got it done. Man, it was crappy. Don't get me wrong. Like, man, my tack, it was, when I say terrible, it was terrible. But, like you said, it taught me something that
Yeah.
I think that's probably missing now in this generation, where we don't allow people to go through little tough things, right? You know what I'm saying? That will kind of shape and mold them. So I think that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
And
And
since you said
so
that, you said we don't allow kids to go through tough things. We don't allow people to go through tough things. I think it's so important. I had people ask me several times, how did you get through your amputation with such a great attitude? Because I had a great attitude. I expected the best, and the best pretty much has happened. But they would ask me that, and I would think about it, and I'm just like, I don't know. But then after I think about it a little bit more, okay, my name's Bart. Can you imagine what names I was called as a young kid? Bart the Fart. And
yeah.
as it got into high school, it got worse. Until I started the DJ thing, and then I became the music man, so I was a little bit cooler. But going through
Yeah.
those things, those hard times, having to defend myself. I fought a lot in school, because if you were big enough
Yeah.
to make fun of me, you better be big enough to fight me too. And that was my attitude. And going
Yeah.
through that prepared me for the things that were to come. The missing
Uh,
my dream job in 2000, right after 9/11, 2002, I lost several $100,000 in business ventures that
oh.
disappeared because of 9/11. Going through
Uh,
these different things. And so, another quick story, because I
yeah.
mentioned losing that money, I was this close to bankruptcy. And what do? You go out and buy a $40,000 diesel pickup. That's what you do, because nothing had hit my account yet. I was still in good standing with everybody. My score was great. I bought a
Uh-huh.
$40,000 brand new Ford diesel 1-ton pickup, and I started pulling trailers nationwide, camping trailers from manufacturer to dealer. That saved me from going into that bankruptcy. But here's the
Mm,
deal. Here's something I want people to understand. I couldn't get the contract to do that without a truck. So I had to
mm,
buy the truck first, not knowing whether or not I was going to get the contract.
mm,
I bought the truck, I drove out to Indiana, got the contract, and then started making money. I didn't
mm,
I had to take the jump, and maybe we'll talk about that later, but I had to take the jump and take
mm.
the chance in order to keep me out of bankruptcy. Because if I didn't get that contract, I wasn't paying for that truck.
So question, like, so when you started hauling stuff all over the country, you said you didn't have the money. You was on the verge of bankruptcy. So how did you sleep? Where did you sleep at?
In the truck. So doing the hauling, so I did have a house. I had a house in
Mhm.
Utah, but I would go
Yeah.
out to the East Coast to Indiana, and I
Hmm.
would sleep probably one every third night. I would sleep in a cheap motel.
Okay.
but but everything else, I was camping in my truck. My back seat was lifted up. I had a mattress, makeshift memory foam mattress in that back, and I would sleep there as much as I could to save money. And I
Mm.
did that for about 3.5 years. Actually, it was probably
Wow.
4. It was 4 years, because I put 300 plus thousand miles on that truck in 3 years. I sold it to Japan and got the money that I had remainder on the loan. I bought me a
Hmm.
new truck and did another almost $90,000 on the new truck before I
Mm.
sent that truck to Japan and made a profit off of that truck. And so, but the point is, you have to take that risk when you're in business,
Yeah.
when you're doing things, and you may not know what's going to happen, and you may
Yeah.
not like it. I shouldn't say hated. I didn't like being away from my wife and my dogs,
Yeah.
because I was gone 20 days out of the month at least on the road to save me
Wow.
from bankruptcy. And it did. I'm
Yeah.
proud that I pulled myself up and
Yeah.
got it done.
And see, and that was going to lead to the next question I have for you is like doing that solo work. How do you view hard work, and how did it affect your confidence?
So definitely having successes builds confidence, but you
Hmm.
can also gain confidence from failure.
Yeah.
and gain knowledge. You can gain knowledge from failure because you know what to avoid next time. I think Gary Vaynerchuk puts it best. He says, I would rather win 7 out of 10 times versus 10 out of 10 times because I learned so much from the 3 failures that is going to make the other 7 successes that much better because of the stuff I learned in the failures. And that's true. When you have a failure, having the business things happen because of 9/11, there's outside forces that can cause your business to have issues. And there's nothing you can do about it because it's outside forces. So what you can do is you can suck it up and do what you need to do to keep you. I had to go drive truck for 4 years to keep me from going into a bad situation. And so here's another thing that we hadn't talked about yet. But so I was over in Japan. I was doing the bungee jump thing, and I would go to the gym because I had nothing else to do when I wasn't at work. I would go to the gym. First couple of weeks I was there, nobody was talk to me because I'm the big gaijin in the gym, and I'm 6'4", 220 pounds, bigger. I mean, that's nothing in America, but in Japan, you go in the gym, you're big. You're big, and they're afraid of you. They don't know if you speak Japanese, so nobody talked to me. And then finally, this one guy, he comes up to me and he goes, hello. And I said, hello, with the perfect English accent. And he's like, and then I started speaking Japanese to him. And he's like, oof, I'm glad
so
you
you're like,
speak
Nihongo
Japanese.
kodasai.
He's like, I'm glad you speak Japanese because I was done at hello. He was a big rig driver in Japan, and talk about amazing big rig drivers. Japanese big rig drivers, they can back into anything. He was amazing. But he said, okay, I want to quit driving big rig and I want to start importing camping trailers from America and Ford and Dodge diesel pickups. Will you help me? I didn't know how to do it. I thought he did, so I said yes. He didn't know how to do it, so we helped each other figure out how to do it. We've been doing that since 1997. We still do it to this day. But whenever I made the decision to buy that truck and go get in the middle of that recreational vehicle industry in Indiana, it not only saved me from my bankruptcy issue, it put me into making connections in the RV industry so that when I needed something for Japan, I knew people and I could call and get with different companies. I had connections. And so it was a two-phase plan. Number one, keep me solvent. And number two, make connections for my current other side business.
Wow. Earlier you talked about jumping, taking the leap of faith and jumping. Expound upon that.
So, like I said, I took the first commercial bungee jump to Japan. And on our busiest day, I assisted 783 people off the top of this tower. But sometimes during the week, it was a little quieter, and I'd be up at on the top of the tower alone, just me and my brilliant mind. Now, at the bottom of my 8-story tower, it was 8 stories high, was a stunt person airbag, one that has the fans constantly blowing it, and you hit it and it kind of goes poof. And in theory, one could jump from the top of the tower without a bungee cord, hit the airbag, and be okay. And my brilliant mind was asking me, you think you can do that? And I walked to the edge and I looked down. And my mind says, nah, I ain't that crazy. But my brilliant mind continued to talk to me. And he said, okay, you could jump with a cord connected, wait for the bouncing to stop, then you just unhook yourself, and that way you'll fall from 6 stories instead of 8. That's doable. I'm like, okay, that's doable. I can do that. I got a bungee cord, called my buddy up from down below, and I jumped, waited for the bouncing to stop, and I couldn't unhook. There was too much tension on the bungee cord. So let me down. I'm back up at the top. My brilliant mind continues to think now just if you're not watching, but for the people who are watching, this is crazy. That's your finger spinning backward. This is brilliant when your finger is spinning forward. So my brilliant mind was saying, okay, when you connect the bungee cord to the person, you have a 1-inch nylon strap with a carabiner on one end, and you can wrap it around, hook it on yourself because it's about 1 foot long, 1 inch wide. Hook it on itself, and you have a loop. You get these 2 loops, put them at the end of the bungee cord. What do you have? Handles. I could jump just hanging onto the bungee cord with my hands, wait for the bouncing to stop, and then all I have to do is let go. Brilliant, right?
Mm-hmm. Wrong.
So I had my handles in my hand. I walked to the edge. I looked down and I jumped. Now obviously everything's okay because I'm here.
Yeah.
When the bouncing stopped, I said, okay, I'm gonna let go.
Mm-hmm.
And I let go, and that bungee cord shot to the top of the tower with a loud bang. And I hit the mat with a loud slap, and it echoed throughout the park, and everybody came running to see who just died. I'm crawling out of the mat. Not me, nothing to see here. It's all good. Anyway, the point of the story. Let's get to the point. It's all fun, but the point.
Yeah.
Is it brilliant or crazy? To be an entrepreneur, to be a solopreneur, you have to be a little bit of both.
Yeah.
You got to be willing to step out there, to take that first jump, to endure the risk, even if you don't know the outcome. Now, I am not talking about stupid risk, because some of you out there are going to be saying, oh, that's stupid, dude. What if you couldn't hold on? That's a good question. What if I couldn't hold on? I would have died or been in a wheelchair or got my leg cut. Oh, wait, I did get my leg cut off, but that was for a different reason.
Okay.
You have to be willing to take those risks, but not stupid risk. I had jumped maybe 1,000 times. I knew the pressure that I was going to feel, and I was probably 99% sure that I could hang on. Because I knew the pressure. So it was an educated guess that I could hang on and then just let go. And that's what happened. So when you're doing business, you have to do the due diligence. You have to decide, is this a risk you want to take? A lot of people, we say, oh, I wish I was Bezos, or I wish I was Musk, or I wish I was Mark Cuban, whatever billionaire you want to pick. And I say, really? Are you willing to do what it takes to get what they got?
Yep.
Mark Cuban slept on people's couches for years as he was trying to make his business happen. Elon Musk still lives in his office, doesn't see his wife and kids as much as some of us would probably like. Is that the lifestyle you want? So when you're doing something, you have to do your research. You have to find out, okay, I'm going to have to give up this to get this, which you may not know what this is completely yet. Am I willing to do that? And if you are willing to do it, then jump. You have to take that first step. So I don't know if do you know Coco Ichiban curry?
Oh, my favorite.
Oh, right. Man,
yes.
that's the first place I go when I land. It is the last place I go when I leave. It is, I love Coco Ichiban. What's that?
Do you get level 10? Level 10?
Oh,
level
no,
10.
no, no.
You don't get level 10?
No, I'm a 1 or a 2.
Okay.
But I get cots on there with cheese. Oh man. Very good. And so when I love this place. And if you go to Okinawa or the other bases, you go to the Coco Ichibans by those bases on a Friday, Saturday night, you think you're in America.
Yep.
Because that's where everybody's at. I was like, okay, this is going to go well. I need to take this to America. I had a friend in Japan, a rich friend, who said, I will give you the money to start this. If you fail and we don't make anything, don't worry about it. Okay. If you make money, then we'll split it. And I had to go ask my other Japanese friends and explain the conversation to make sure he meant what I thought he meant. And they said, yeah, that's what it sounds like. That's what he meant. I came back to America. I started doing my research of what it would take to bring this, to do this and to get this profitable and to get this going. And I decided it was not, I decided I didn't want to work that hard because the restaurant business is hard. And to get it to a point to where you can step away and do other things is probably 1 to 2 years at least of very
100%.
And I decided, I love to eat Japanese curry, but I don't want to oversee the making of it every day. And so I turned down the free money. I told my guy that was going to be the money, I said, I can't take your money because my heart wouldn't be in it and I don't think we would succeed. And so I let it go. And you have to, when you're doing your research and trying to decide, okay, this is what I'm gonna have to give up
Yep.
to get this. Do I want to do it? You have to make that decision.
And you're so right about that. And I think that's the difficult thing because for a lot of entrepreneurs or just people with ideas. But I love your message, your whole message about monetize your mindset. And because you have a monetized mindset, you go through a lot of, checklists in your mind to see if this is profitable, is something I want to do or not, right? How do you train yourself to capture that mindset, that ability?
So for me, it just comes naturally.
Mhm.
And so how do I train other people? So here's how this
Mhm.
came about. Before I
Mhm.
even had my Monetize Your Mindset book, I was volunteering at a drug rehab center. I was doing
Um,
a speaking group, a speaking club, helping them to learn how to tell their stories without without dropping F-bombs everywhere. And so
yeah.
we were listening to Jen tell her story, and she said she didn't realize that other people's lives were different than hers until she went to college
Uh,
and had roommates. Because when
uh,
her and her family were out and about, everybody acted normal just like everybody else. It wasn't
uh,
until they were home where nobody else could see that the abuse and the neglect happened. And she thought everybody else went home to the same thing until she got to college and had roommates and found out that no, they didn't go home. They didn't have lives like this. And so I'm sitting there
wow.
listening to her and I'm thinking, it's the same thing when it comes to making money. If you didn't grow up with my dad or someone like my dad, you don't think like I do. And so I need to
Uh,
share this with people on how to think about not leaving money on the table that's just right there for the picking, the stuff that you like to do, need to do, or already doing. You need to figure out how to monetize those things. And so that's why I wrote the book, Monetize Your Mindset. It was all because of listening to Jen and her telling her story.
yo, that is wow.
And so how do I take people through a process.
Yeah, yeah.
I have them look at what do they like to do. I have them make a list. And I said,
Mhm.
when you're making this list, don't think about, oh, I can't monetize that. Just make a list of everything. We'll refine it later. What do you need to do? Because sometimes that's the most overlooked because the stuff you need to do, you may not like to do. You have to do it because it's a need. A good example is my leg. Learning how to take care of my leg is something I had to do for my leg. And so
Uh,
going through this process of amputation and learning new things, I needed to do it. A friend of mine, she's a grief counselor. And she's a grief counselor because she lost her teenage son at like 15. She had to go
uh,
through grief. Not something she liked to do, not something she wants to do, but she does like helping other people. Okay, so but it's something she needed to do. What are you already doing? And I have them make these lists. Don't think about things. So let me give you a couple examples of what are you already doing. You need a place to live. When
mhm.
I got out of college, I bought my first house, single guy. I took the best room and I rented out the other rooms to other single guys. Paid for
Uh,
my mortgage and then some. I needed a place to live. I needed a place to live. I was already doing it because I needed a place to live. So why not make money doing it? Then I
yeah.
got married. I rented out the basement. We lived upstairs. Then I moved to my current house. I looked for a house with an accessory apartment that I could rent out. I have never
Uh,
lived in a house where at least half of my mortgage wasn't paid for by somebody else. I was hopped in an Uber. This has been a few years ago. My driver was Megan. I said, Megan, how's Uber treating you today? And she's like, oh, I just drive this to and from work. She was a nurse at the U of U hospital in Salt Lake City, Utah, and she
mhm.
lived an hour away in Payson. And she said, when I get up and go to work, I pick someone up that's going to Salt Lake. I take them up to Salt Lake, I drop them off, I go to work, and then on the way home, I pick someone up going south. She says, I
Yeah,
make an extra $60, $70 a day. But here's the thing, a lot of
uh,
times she is in rush hour traffic.
yeah,
If she picks someone up, she can use the HOV lane. She gets home
yeah,
quicker.
yeah.
So she was killing two birds with one stone.
Let's go.
And it's just, I was like, Megan, that's brilliant. Can I
Mhm.
share your story? She's like, absolutely. And and so I share her story all the time of something she needed, she was already doing. She was already
Wow.
driving to Salt Lake anyway. And so I take people, have them make these lists. Once they get their list put together, then we go through each one. And we refine that list and we refine that list till something boils to the top that they want to do, that they're already doing, or that they like to do. Something boils up that would be a good place to start your first side hustle business. And then as they start to go through this process, they start to think of things on their own. I had a friend of mine, she's a bus driver. She came to me. She already had her idea. She wanted to do a party bus that would take people to and from the jazz games or the hockey games or whatever event. And so it would be a party bus limousine that would take people to and from places. And I says, okay, I know you already have your idea, but humor me and let's go through my process. And so I'm having her make these lists. And I said, okay, continue to grow these lists and we'll meet next week. She calls me up 2 days later. She says, Bart, I'm so mad at you. I'm like, well, what? What did I do? I woke up at 3 o'clock this morning and I couldn't go back to sleep. I'm just like, okay, what does this have to do with me? And she says, I figured out that if I have my own bus, my own vehicle, all I have to do is go take a test and then I would be qualified to give the driving test to other people who are wanting to get their CDL. And she wouldn't even have to advertise because you go take the written test for a CDL and they hand you a list of all the people who are qualified to give the driving exam. And so she couldn't go back to sleep because she was thinking about all the things she needed to get done when she got off the bus that day to find out what she was going to have to do to get this qualification. And so I didn't think of that for her. I just started her thinking. And so I just start people to get to think like I do. By the time we're done, they're thinking about everything. And that's what we want.
That's amazing. That's amazing. No, so go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, with everything with your process, how do you integrate like technology now? Like with AI, it's kind of changing everything, like how we see things. How is AI affecting the side hustle world, the tools
Oh
in
my
which you
gosh.
create?
There is not an easier time in the history of the world to be in business for yourself because you don't have to guess anymore. We can use AI to find who your ideal clients are, to find who your competition is, to figure out what they're doing wrong. Can you do better what they're doing wrong to bring yourself, to niche yourself above your competition? We can use AI to find all that information out. We're not talking about just Chat GPT or whatever. We're talking about deep dive. It's called Venturis AI that you can put your idea in and it'll give you 8 to 10 pages of business information about your idea. It'll even, if you have a paid version, it'll even give you your chances of success. Let's say you got a 64%. You can, and then it has a chat on the side and you can say, I want to say this chat has a name. I forget what the name is, but you can say, Juanita, I'm only getting a 64%. What do I need to focus on to make my chances greater than 64%? And it will print, you'll get another page of stuff telling you what you need to focus on. And so
I'm on it right now. I just clicked on it. I just from the name. It is business strategy. You are. How did you find out about this stuff?
I've been studying AI for a couple of years now. And so a lot of people don't like AI. So one of my other guilty pleasures, I like music because I was a DJ.
Yeah.
So I create music that's AI, completely AI. Well, not completely. The lyrics are, I collaborate with Claude and I tell him what the feeling is that I want, gives me a framework, and then I go in and change things and we discuss things and then I take it into Suno and I create a song. And I have two personas. One is Mason Kane and the other one is Dana Call. They both have albums out on Spotify. Every time someone listens, I get a little piece of a penny. Now, it may not be anything big. It may. I don't know. But my goal is to get X amount of listens to make me $30,000 on something I do just for a guilty pleasure. It's an outlet for me. And so a lot of people say, oh, if it's AI, we need to avoid it. If you avoid AI, you're going to get left
Yeah.
behind because AI is not going away.
It's not.
You need to learn all you can about it, like the Venturous AI.
Hmm.
There's so many ways to, if you ask AI, if you use the right prompts, you're going to get the right information that is going to not guarantee your success, but is going to improve your chances of success. I don't even think anymore. I worry about 2 years from now. How stupid am I going to be? But if I'm creating an attractive post on Facebook, I go to ChatGPT or Claude and I say, okay, I need 5 Facebook ideas around this subject. And it spits out 5 ideas. And I was like, okay, I like number 2. Now
Look.
give me 5 image ideas for number 2. And then I'll take my
Hmm.
image ideas and I'll pop it into either Gemini or to ChatGPT and I'll say, okay, create me this image.
Yeah.
And I usually run through all of them. I pick the one I like. I adjust the post to what I want it to be, and I put it in there and post it. And you can create an agent that does that automatically for you. Now people say,
Yep.
"Oh, but it's not going to sound like you. It's going to sound like AI." No, my AI
No.
has been trained to speak like me, to talk like me, use the words that I would use. And so it's like me now. I have to say, okay, get rid of the M dashes and all this other
Yeah.
stuff so it doesn't
Yeah. Yeah.
look too
Same.
much at it. Or sometimes AI lies. So I
Yeah.
don't ever copy and paste and leave it. Sometimes AI will tell a story that's not true. So Bart has helped millions of people do XYZ. And I'm like, no, I haven't. Or Bart's a millionaire. And I'm like, no, I'm not, but I
No.
am
No.
financially secure. And so
No.
you have to use AI for what it's used for, but you can't just stop using it as Google.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to ask it the proper prompts. You have to learn how to prompt to get the information that you need for business. Don't
Mhm.
just use it as Google. But with AI and with all that's out there, there's never been an easier time to make money.
I agree. Bart, we covered a lot of ground
We
on
did.
how to create opportunities, man, advice. What is one thing I did not ask that I should have asked? And is there something important about your journey or mission that we haven't touched on yet?
So I always like to tell people about my dad. He
Hmm.
taught me a lot, and even in death, he taught me so much. So,
Uh,
have you heard the story Acres of Diamonds?
yes, yes. When I was doing my research about you, yes,
Okay.
I was good. Yeah, yeah.
So, for those who haven't, it's about a Persian farmer. His name was Ali Fed. He sold his
Hmm.
farm, went in search of diamonds. He died broke, alone in a foreign land. He never found his riches. The farmer that owned his farm now was watering his camel in a brook that ran through the property. As he was looking down, he saw this strange rock. He picked it up, and lo and behold, it was a diamond. He found acres of diamonds in what was Ali Fed's backyard. My family, we have a similar story. Instead of acres of diamonds, we call it acres of pig poop. So, like I said, we grew up in a small town, southern New Mexico. We had more
Hmm.
pigs than people in our town. On any one time on our farm, we probably had somewhere around 19,000 pigs. We
Jeez.
had 2,000 sows. So, for those who don't know what a sow is, it's a mama pig. A
Hmm.
mama pig can give birth 2.5 times a year. And on our farm, we average 9.97 pigs per litter. And so, for the mathematicians out there,
Jeez. Yeah. 10 pigs.
that equals a lot of pig poop.
Yeah.
We had these 3 man-made ponds called the lagoons that we would divert the sewage into. One year it'd go to this one, the next year this one, the next year this one, and we just rotate them. They're settling ponds. Now, Dad, whenever he hit his mid-60s somewhere, decided it was time to shut down the pig operation and go in search of his next big thing, his next acres of diamonds. He
Hmm.
died at age 81. He never found his next big thing. About 2 years after he passed, we sold the pig farm for $235,000, which was a fair price for the property, I guess, at the time. 6 months after that, the farmer, the new owner of our farm, was leveling those man-made ponds. They had been dry on top for years, but as the heavy grader was going across the pond in the middle, it broke through the crust and sunk up to its belly in this black muck. They called in experts to analyze the stuff and decided if it was safe or what they should do. Right there on the spot, the expert offered the new owners of what was our farm $2,000 a ton for That's $1 a pound for old pig poop. 500 tons of old pig poop was acres of diamonds right under my dad's nose. The farm that we sold for $235,000 was now worth over $1 million. So what I want people to think about that are listening to this, that are hearing this, what about you? Where are your acres of diamonds? Are you right on the verge of discovery? Are you almost there? Or are you overlooking them like Ali Fed and my dad? Because could be right in your backyard, right within your grasp, like my dad, right under his nose, could look like a pile of pig poop. Whatever it is, don't overlook and pay attention to the stuff that is all around you. There's opportunities everywhere. Don't overlook them.
Okay. And my final question for you, Bart, before I turn the floor over to you, I'll ask. I mean, you already told me you love, you already love Coco Ichiban. What about Hotomoto, Yoshinoya's, and Hotspot? Out of those three, which one is your
Yoshinoya's.
Yoshinoya's? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I was gonna say Most Burger, but not everybody likes Most Burger. So
I do, but I do like Moss Burger too. Their teriyaki burger is just amazing. I wish it was just a little bigger.
yeah. Yeah. Okay.
But it's
Heck yeah.
good.
Well, the floor is yours. Tell us anything you got going on that we can support and just shine a light to.
Well, if you want to connect with me, the best place to connect with me right now is you go to youridealsidehustle.com, and I have an assessment. It's the 1K blind spot assessment. What is holding you back from making your first $1,000 on the side? And it's 40 questions, so it's going to take you probably 30 minutes to get all the way through it, and it's going to give you feedback on what are you missing. But it's also going to give you feedback on the stuff that is good too. And so it's going to give you ideas on what you need to do to fix the blind spots so that you can be up there making that $1,000 a week, a month, whatever you need. And so that's the best ways to connect to me. I do have an Identify Your Ideal Side Hustle workshop. It's free to go to. Whenever I have the link up for the next one that's up, it'll be up at the sidehustledojo.com. Okay.
Heck yeah.
And then my website, of course, there's a new website, but it should be on Podmatch, but it's thesidehustlesamurai.com.
Okay. Heck yeah. Well, Bart, thank you so much for sharing your stories, your wisdom with us today, and just, man, being a fantastic guest. I learned so much from the opportunity and your advice that you've given. Thank you for your time and just being a wonderful, valuable insight. We really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I enjoyed the conversation.
You guys take care. Peace.